All right, now let me show you something. I'm going to send a post request to the vehicle's endpoint to create a new vehicle. And in the body of the request, I have all the data for creating this new vehicle. So send. Look at the response. This object we have here is save vehicle resource. So we only have the identifiers. Here we need a complete representation of the vehicle, including its last update date time, which we don't have here. So in our vehicles controller, in the create vehicle action, here we need to change this mapping to vehicle resource. However, in the last lecture, you noticed that we had to eager load a few properties of this vehicle in order to map it to a vehicle resource. Now back in the create vehicle action, this vehicle object we have here, it doesn't include its related properties. For example, here we only set the model ID foreign key property. So the actual model property, as well as its make, are not loaded in the memory. Same goes for the features. During the mapping, we create new vehicle feature objects, but the actual feature objects are not in the memory. So before this mapping, we need to add these objects in the context. Now there are two ways to do this. One way is to explicitly load the objects that this vehicle is related to. For example, I want to load the vehicle's model and the make. So I would do context.models.include m goes to m.make.single or default async. And here we add m goes to m.id equals vehicle.model.id. And of course, we need to await the result. Now here we're not going to store this object in the vehicle. So we don't need to set the vehicle model like this. It's not necessary, because once this model object is loaded in the context, Entity Framework will internally create this association. So we can just leave it as is. Now similarly, we have to load the features that this vehicle is related to. But you can see this is a little bit ugly. We're getting too close to Entity Framework and how it works. And if in the future you want to use a different ORM, you're going to have a hard time. So what's the alternative way? Well, let's go back to our get vehicle action. So in VS Code, you can press Shift, Command, and O on Mac, or Shift, Control, O on Windows. And here we can quickly go to the get vehicle action. So we have this code here, and we know that it works. So I can simply copy this into our create action. With this, we fetch a complete representation of a vehicle. In the future, if you want to use a different ORM, or if you want to create stored procedures, as long as we return a completely hydrated vehicle object, everything works. So I'm going to copy this in our create vehicle action. Now we don't need to redeclare this vehicle variable here. In fact, it's illegal. So we simply reset it. And here for the ID, we can use vehicle.id. So this expression is evaluated before we reset the vehicle object. Now we have a complete vehicle object in the memory, and the mapping should work. Let's try it. Send one more request. Okay, look at the result. ID is 19. We have model with ID and name, make with ID and name. Beautiful. Now we need to apply the same change to our update vehicle action. So here's the update vehicle action. I'm going to replace this line where we read a vehicle with this code snippet. So we have a complete representation of this vehicle. Then, after saving the changes, we map this vehicle to vehicle resource. So I'm going to send a put request to vehicles/1. Okay, I couldn't get any response because my web server is restarting. So always look in the terminal. Sometimes it takes a few seconds. Let's try again. All right. Look at the response. We've got model, ID, name, make, ID, name. Beautiful. However, with this implementation, you can see our action is getting a little bit too fat. And a more serious problem is that we have repeated this code snippet in 3 places. So in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to fix this problem.